Well, hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial. My name is Peter Drakulic and today I would like to take you on a tour on the selection tools available in GIMP. When we're working with raster images, meaning with images that are consisted of pixels, then we usually want to be able to isolate certain parts of our image for many purposes. We could, for example, copy and paste different parts of our image and move them to another part of the image, or we might want to alter the color or the hue or the saturation or the contrast of certain parts of our image. So this is where the selection tools come in handy. You can find the selection tools in GIMP in many places. First of all, you can find them over here, okay, in the toolbox here, okay, and you can see you have a variety of selection tools to choose from, but you can also find them over here to the tools, selection tools panel here. On the right you can see you have some very useful shortcuts for each one of these tools. For the rectangle, for example, R, ellipse, E, free select, F, or the lasso tool as we call it in Photoshop, and and different other and various other shortcuts. Now you can also right click anywhere in the image and you can bring this very handy pop-up dialog where you can find the same tools by going down here to the tool selection tools. So now each time you are selecting a selection tool, let's say the rectangle selection tool, a tool options palette appears down here and you can select from many options. For example, I would like to add a rounded corners option for the rectangle selection tool. Now each time I'm clicking and dragging, you can see that I can define the radius for the corners, for the rounded corners. You can see now that I have some rounded corners in my selection, and many other options as well. Let's go ahead and see the selection tools we have available in GIMP. First of all, we have some very simple selection tools like the rectangle, the ellipse selection tool, and those are for making simple geometrical selections. And but they are very useful in order to get used, all right, with the overall functionality of the selection tools. For example, if I selected the rectangle tool and I want to hold down the left mouse button and click and drag, you can see I can drag a rectangle, all right, around here. Now I want to show you the modifier keys, as we call them, and how you can work with the selections. This applies to all of the selection tools. So if I wanted, let's say, to make another selection, another rectangular selection that is going to be added to the current selection, I have a couple of ways for doing so. You can either go down here where it is the mode and you can switch over to this icon here, to the second from the left, and now I can click and drag and create a selection that is going to be added to the first selection. Now you can see here from the history or undo history palette here, you can see that we have this shape here, which is the combined shape of those two selections. You can see it better if I switched over to the selection editor. You can see here it is the selection now with a white color for inside, for the part inside the area inside the shape here, and this is where any change I'm going to make later on by using, let's say, a tool like color tool. For example, I would like to change the hue saturation. Any change I want to make to my image, it will affect just this part of the of the image that is white here, and it is inside the selected area, and the area outside is going to be deselected in a way. It's going to be this black area here is going to be inactive in a way, or it's not going to have any effect to what you might want to do to your image. So a selection is actually, it's like defining an area where we want to work in. So we can then convert the selection into a path. So a selection now you can see it has this what we call them marching ants, and you can go to the selection editor over here, and you have the option here to convert it into a path. So select, click on that, and now you have made a path based on this selection. Let's go up here to the paths palette, and you can see we have this path here. This is not a selection anymore. This is a path, meaning that we can double click on this little icon, and we can start moving and dragging the different nodes, as we call them, those little points here, control points of the path, and we can change the shape of the path, and we can work further on this selection. Alright, let's go now ahead and delete the path really quick. And now let's see another functionality that has to do with the selection tools. As I told you before, if I wanted to add to the initial selection, I have to click Shift just before clicking and dragging my rectangle. As you can see now, the cursor has changed into with a plus icon, and it has a rectangle also, you know. And so if I now clicked and dragged before, and I pressed Shift just after, then I can constrain the shape to be a square. Alright, so just have this in mind. So Shift before clicking and dragging is going to add the shape, but if I clicked and dragged and then clicked Shift, then I'm constraining to a square. Now if I wanted my square to start from the exactly the point where the cursor is found, I need to click and drag and then press Ctrl. So now if I press Ctrl, I can have a selection that has its center at the point where I start clicking. I start clicking and dragging. So I want to click Ctrl, but after you have clicked and dragged, so click Ctrl, yeah, and you can see that the rectangle now is drawn around the point where I first clicked. So if I pressed also Shift, I can now constrain my shape, as you can see. All right. So if I now clicked Ctrl before start clicking and dragging, then you can see that the cursor is changing into a minus sign, and now I can subtract from the selection. Look at that. Let me bring you the selection editor. Look at that. I can now subtract from my selection. All right. So I can remove parts of my initial selection. Okay, so this way I can make some really complicated shapes here. Okay, and of course you have the same functionality if you clicked on this little icon over here, which is subtract from the selection. Now if I clicked Ctrl Shift before I click anywhere in the and start dragging later, just after, I can have the intersection. I've got here the intersection of the selection, so you can see this over here on the selection editor. Look at that. We have the area that it was the common area between those two selections. Only this one is going to be selected. And again, you can find the same functionality if you go over here and select the intersect with the current selection, and you can see the shortcut here as well. So in order to recap, for any selection, if I wanted to constrain the selection, I should first click and drag and then click Shift. Now I have constrained the selection to a rectangle. Alright, if I wanted now to make my selection start from the point where I first clicked, I have to click and drag. So let's click and drag, and I have to then press Control, and now I have this kind of effect. All right, now at any given time, at any given moment, you can click on those rectangles, little rectangles, so you can reshape your selection. Okay, so even if you have made the selection, you can reshape your selection later on. And you can also click Alt and you can move your selection. By holding down Alt, you can move your selection around, okay? So that's very, very interesting. Now, if you wanted to add to the selection, first click Shift before clicking and dragging. So you are now adding to the selection. The cursor turns into has a plus icon, as you can see. And if you wanted to, let's say, subtract from the selection, click Control, and the cursor now changes into a minus, and you have subtracted from the selection. If you wanted to intersect, then press Control Shift, and now you can have the intersection of the selection. This is not just for the current selected rectangle selection tool, but this works for any other selection tool. For example, we have the ellipse selection tool, and the shortcut for that is, by the way, E. So by pressing E, if you wanted to make a perfect circle, let's say, you would like to first click and drag and then hold down Shift, and this will constrain your selection to a perfect circle. Alright? Okay, as you can see. Now if you wanted to add another circle to the selection, you will have to first to click Shift before clicking and dragging. So the cursor now changes into a plus icon, and now you click and you click and drag, and you have this nice combined selection shape. If I wanted to, let's say, to subtract, then I had to press Control before, and if I wanted to, let's say, intersect, I would have to first press Control Shift and then intersect. Right, so we have this kind of intersection selection now. Okay, here. All right. Those two are the very basic selection tools. I mean, the rectangle and the selection. We have some more sophisticated, some more advanced tools that are suitable for more advanced selections, like, for example, the free selection tool or the lasso tool, as it is known in some other packages. So in order to call this tool, you have to press F as a shortcut, and now you can just click, drag and draw a free line around any objects, and when you see this little yellow dot, this means that you have the starting and ending points on top of each other. So you can left mouse button, and you have now your selection. Of course, you can always work further on the selection by going down here to the selection editor and to click on this selection to path icon, and you can see, if you now go to the path palette here, you can double click on this, and you have the ability to start moving the points of your selection. Okay, so you can work further on this on the shape of the selection. So this is the free selection tool. Shortcut is F. Let's go ahead and delete this path really quick. And now, if you wanted, by the way, to deselect a current selection, you can very easily press Control Shift or A, and you have deselected everything. And if you press Control A, you can see now from the selection editor it is black. We haven't selected anything just yet. If I press Control A, it's going to turn into a white rectangle because I have selected all the images now. But if I press Control Shift A, that's a very useful shortcut, I have deselected everything. So just keep this in mind. Alright, now with the free selection tool selected, you have some options, one of them being very important, and you can find it in many other selection tools as well. It's to feather the edges, and you are given an option here for adjusting the radius of the feathering. And what this does is that it smooths out, in a way, the geometry of the selection. For example, if I set this to real low, or even if I disabled it, and I made this kind of jaggy line here, you can see I take just the shape that I have drawn. But if I enabled this and I gave it to it set this to a rather high value, something like so, and then if I click and draw and have drawn as a shape, you can see that the shape now smooths out, and also it feathers the selection, meaning that it makes it to be more fading in, fading out, whatever colors here. It's not that sharp, the selection. So the edges now have a fading fading amount, right, which is defined by this this slider here. So let's try this one as well. You can see now how this looks like here in the selection editor. So that's about the feather edges. And also you have now some more advanced tools from over here. The fuzzy select tool, which is, by the way, known is called magic wand in some other packages like Photoshop. And you have the select by color and scissor select tool, which is one of the most advanced selection tools over there. So for each one of them, actually I'm planning to hopefully soon publishing some tutorials, because they are more advanced tools, but I want to give you a quick overview of each one of them. And first of all, let's start with the fuzzy selection tool, which has the shortcut U, by the way. And the fuzzy selection tool is going to it has some options here, right? We're going to see in just a while. And what this tool does is that it samples the color just underneath the cursor. And by the way, I would like to say you that by default it's not enabled, but it's useful to have if you want to go to the preferences here and bring up the preferences. And you might want to go to the image windows here, and you want to go to the mouse pointers here, and you want to enable tool icon with crosshair. Alright, you can select from tool icon. In that case there you won't have the crosshair, but I do recommend you I do encourage you to go ahead and enable the crosshair tool icon. Have this, because this is greatly helpful, alright, if you want it to select precisely. So you might want to zoom in first in your image here, and you might want to go just to the, and by holding down spacebar you can also you can also pan or navigate your image. And let's say I wanted to select just the colors that are about the same with this color here. First of all, let's go ahead and deselect everything, and let's click, point your mouse over here, and you want to click on this point here, and you have to be very, very exact, very precise. If you click on that on here, you're going to get a very different result. So also you might want to set the mode to replace the current selection. All right, so click on that, and you can see you have selected all the colors that are close enough to the value of the color of the pixel that was just underneath the cursor. So now you can adjust the threshold of this of the value of the pixels that are underneath, that are similar to the one underneath the mouse when you clicked, and by adjusting this slider here. So let's make this something like 131. Alright, now you can see I have selected much more pixels. Let's go back and set this lower somewhat. So by adjusting the threshold, you can click and you can select a certain part of your image that where the pixels have the similar values with the one that was underneath your mouse. And this threshold here can take all the values from 0 through 255. And if you set this to 255, then even the pixels that have 255 difference are I mean all the colors, as you might know, 255 are all the values for a channel to keep, I mean for 8-bit channel to keep. Alright, so if you set this to 155, then all of the image is going, all the pixels, all of them are going to get selected. But you can get the meaning. If you set this to 31, for example, then only the pixels that are 31 values brighter or 31 values darker are going to be selected. Now, in order for this tool to work properly, you might want to go ahead and click on this add to current selection, or equally press shift before clicking, and now you are added to the selection, so you can select a couple of colors, all right, that you want to, all right, so a couple of similar colors, and this is going to be added to the selection, and then you can go ahead and subtract some colors if you see that it doesn't work perfectly. Of course, you have to work a lot in order to make a perfect selection with this tool. The main difference with the select by color tool here is that this tool here, the fuzzy select tool, selects only the contiguous parts of your image, meaning that it won't select colors that are far away from the ones that you have here. For example, it won't select this color here. All right, it might be similar with this one, but it won't be selected because in between those two colors there are many other colors as well. So this fuzzy select tool, magic wand tool, is going to select only the contiguous areas. Now this select by color tool, though, is going to be selecting also areas that are not contiguous. All right, as you can see, it has now selected all the colors that are, even if they are not at the proximity of this color that I have clicked on. All right, so again you have a threshold, and so again you can subtract or add to the selection, and you have also the option for feathering the edges, giving it a radius. So let's try now with the feather edges, and you can see how it has, how it looks like here in the select editor. Now we have feathered the edges, and you can also, if you had many layers on top to each other, you can select some merge it, so it will take into account all the layers that are stacked on top of each other. So just keep in mind you have this option as well. So let's close this, and now the more one of the most advanced tools here that I'm going to make a tutorial on this hopefully soon is the scissors tool, which allows you for making selection. Let's go ahead and deselect everything first of all. Let's press Ctrl and scroll your mouse so you can zoom in this boat here, let's say, and let's say I wanted to select this boat here. All right, and I want to start clicking with the scissors select tool. I'm not going to show you all the details of this tool today, but I'm going to give you a preview of the tool. So the first time you click, you create a knot or a control point, and the second time you click anywhere in your image, you are trying, you are going to see that it has drawn a path segment according to the color contrast between this dark area here and this lighter blue area over here. So it tries to kind of trace the edges, okay, of this boat here. So there's an option here you have that you can set this interactive boundary, turn on this interactive boundary. What it does, it allows you to preview the path segment before you left the mouse. So I strongly recommend that you have this enabled by default. So click on that and turn this on. Now I want to set yet another control point, yet another knot, but as you can see I can now preview the path. So that's very helpful, and I can decide if I want to left my mouse button or not, or keep holding it until you find the right point. You can leave your mouse button. So this is how we should work with this tool, I guess, with small path segments and with the interactive boundary option enabled, and you can have enough precision this way. Okay, so if for a certain reason you don't like where this this control point is placed, well, if you just click and drag, it's snapping based on the color contrast. But if you don't want for this to snap, if you wanted to place this exactly where your cursor is, then just hold down Shift and you have disabled the snapping option, and you can let it anywhere you think it would be better. Also, you can go ahead and add control points by just left clicking on the segments, on the path segments, and then you can move them, so you can further refine, if you prefer, your path. Alright, and let me zoom out a little bit. Let's say that we have made a nice selection of the boat. Right, this is not a nice selection though, but I want to show you the idea. Now when you go back to the starting control point, you can see this little icon appearing over here, and you can click and close it. And now if you click anywhere inside the path, you can turn this into a selection. So this is, in a nutshell, the scissors. Of course, it has the feather edges option as well here, but the important option here is the interacting boundary. And of course, you can add to the current selection, subtract or intersect using the usual key modifiers or the corresponding icons over here. So, in a nutshell, that was a quick introduction to the selection tools available in GIMP. If it's something for you to take away, that would be that you want to keep in mind that this area, the white area, is where every change is going to be taking place right inside the selection. Okay, so if you would like, for example, to increase the contrast, alright, of this area here by going to the levels, for example, and change the contrast, this will affect only the area that you have selected, okay, inside your selection. Always you can save your selection as an alpha mask by going down here and selecting save the selection to channel. And what this does, if you go to the channels palette, you have the red, green and blue channels, but you can have many more channels in a digital image. You can have many more channels that have to do with, for example, the transparency or the different selections. So you can go ahead and save the selection as a channel. So now you can see we have also a channel here, and if you click this eyeball icon here, you can see the channel, and you can have your selection in the form of a channel. Very, very interesting. Also, you can turn your selection to a path by clicking on this icon over here. And now if you go to the paths palette and you double click on this little icon, you can have your selection in the form of path, where you can start dragging and moving control points and working further into refining your selection. So let's go ahead and delete the path really quick. And now that was, in a nutshell, my tutorial about the functionality of the selection tools in Blender. We're going hopefully to publish some more tutorials with more detail on the selection tools and different techniques on how you can apply this a successful selection into enhancing 1, 2, 3 pam pam into manipulating your image. But this for a later tutorial. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe. Hope you learned something from this, and see you next time, hopefully soon, with another hopefully interesting topic. Until then, have fun and goodbye.